What's good, YouTube? It's your boy JD back with another video, and I recently just did an interview with one of the top real estate agents in New Jersey, Laurie Silver-Corsello. Now, Laurie's been in the real estate game for over 16 years, and she's part of the Sue Adler team here in Jersey, where she became the top seller only after her second year. Now she's a lead buyer and a listing specialist with over $100 million in sales in just the past 5 years. And I got to sit down with Laurie and we talked about things like how to get into real estate, how to advertise, and how she was even affected by COVID-19. But to keep the video kind of short, I split it up into two parts. And in this first part, we're going to talk about how to get your license, the difference between being on a team and being your own independent realtor, having a mentor, going to trade school, the startup costs, advertising, and even other expenses. So make sure you watch the video all the way through so you don't miss any of the dimes that Laurie drops. And make sure you smash the like button and comment any questions that you have. Also subscribe to the channel, but without further ado, let's get into the video.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. So first off, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this interview. It really means a lot.
Well, thank you for reaching out. I'm excited.
So without getting into like too much detail, can you just tell everyone like who you are, where you're from, like just what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in Brooklyn, which was amazing. And I've been living in the New Jersey suburbs for the past 22 years. I started my career overall in retail, and I did that for a very long time. And my kids were very young, and we had relocated to New Jersey. We were living in the DC area, and I took a couple of years off. And contrary to what they told you, you can't just jump right back into the workforce. So I had to recreate myself. And I looked into a few different things, and real estate seemed to be the best fit. So went and got my license. I had a good friend at the time who was selling real estate. So I reached out to her for some advice, and then I got my license, and the rest is history.
You talk about getting your license. Can you just talk about some of the education and the training or the license that goes into being a real estate agent?
Yeah, so to get your license is a fairly easy process. So you need a high school diploma, not much more than that, which is awesome. So one of my kids, as soon as he was able to get his license, turn 18, and he had graduated, he got his license. And you take a class, you have to pass a few exams. It's really, it should be harder, frankly, but it's very easy to get your license. That's the easiest part of this business, is getting your license.
That's actually one of the questions I had. I'm like thinking about going to get my license right now.
Yep.
So I'm kind of like in like the process of thinking like where I should go versus like if I'm actually going to do it and take the time out of like my day to actually get it done.
Well, the cool thing about it now is because of COVID, we could not in New Jersey do it online, but you can now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
So now it's really easy. There's definitely a couple schools that I could recommend. Hovat's Real Estate School is one of them. He does a great job. He does an online class. Depending on where you live, I'm sure there are local schools. There's the American School of Business. There's a bunch of places, but it's easy to get.
So you're part of the Sue Adler team, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you just talk about what it's like to be part of that team, or like what it's like to be on a team in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first 6 years of my real estate career, I was an independent agent. I did have a partner for a short period. And then about 10 years ago, I had done a few deals with Sue. And of course, she was a pretty big player. And so I approached her. Frankly, at the time, teams were not a big thing. They're huge now. Yeah.
What's it like being on a team versus being your own like independent realtor?
So I think like with everything in life, there are pluses and minuses. Especially if you're a brand new agent. I think in today's world, starting and or continuing to be on a team is a great way to shorten the trajectory of making money, because it can be very tough when you first start to actually support yourself selling real estate. Having the support is great. In many cases, there's sort of built-in leads that are fed to you to some degree. You have to work for it, but the tools and the resources are all there. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to do all that figuring out. You can just jump in and be a salesperson. I think the biggest and toughest challenge is if you have a big ego and you want to have your name on the billboard. Yeah. You know, you have to be willing to give that up to some degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things you have talked about is like the process of actually getting like that first sell or like that first buy. Can you just talk about like what's it like after you get your license from that time you then get your first sell?
Yes. So for me, it was, again, this is going on almost 16 years ago. I literally just got on the phone and called people I knew and said, you know, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I'm selling real estate now. And, you know, if you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell, I would love to help them. And one of those calls transformed into my first sale. And it was for my sphere. They call it your sphere of influence. Okay. So that's where you would start. On a team, the trajectory is much different. So in my first year, I sold one house, and it was a good sale though, and it covered my expenses. But certainly it wasn't going to feed me and pay my rent or my mortgage. So I tell anyone who's really thinking about getting into real estate as a full-time career, because I do think for the most part it is a full-time career in order to really make good money at it. If you join a team, it's a little bit different, but I would say you should have like 6 months to a year's expenses saved up so that you can do it without feeling the pressure. If you join a good solid team, you know, you're probably looking at more like 3 to 6 months before you're going to start to see some money coming in.
Okay, so that time between like actually getting your license and then actually making like your first real sell is kind of like that time people can kind of like mess up when it comes to their money or like their finances.
Yeah, because even if you sold a house day one of having your license, there's a time, you know, it doesn't close right away. It could be 30 days, it could be 60, it could be 90, and you don't get paid until the house closes. That's And then you have to also remember that because we're independent contractors, you have to make sure you put money aside for taxes, and you know, you don't necessarily see all that money. So you share some with your broker. There's a whole set of expenses that you have. So,
you talk about some of like those expenses. Can you talk about like some other expenses that people like kind of like don't really see?
I think there's different. You can get sort of sucked into spending a lot of money on shiny objects that people try to sell you. So if you're going to go out and be an independent agent, you don't have to have a ton of expenses up front. And depending now, like most brokerages are pretty tech savvy, so they'll probably have a platform in which you could create a website. So you shouldn't have to spend money on that, but you should have a website. You're going to need business cards. You're going to need some signs. Those type of expenses. It's so much different than when I started because the internet is so much bigger that there's so much you could do for nothing, you know, to get yourself out there, which is awesome. You could spend more money on it, but you can really sort of start up, I think, with not having a huge amount of expenses if you don't have the money. And there are tax advantages. It's very important to keep track of your expenses because when it's time to do your taxes,
write-offs,
there's deductions that you should be taking, right?
Can you talk about things like advertising? Do you use like social media a lot in real estate, or is it kind of like something that's not really?
So I'll tell you expenses. So obviously getting your class, your licensing, there's money involved in that.
Definitely.
You'll pay dues to, you know, be on the multiple listing service, to be part of the National Association of Realtors, the North Jersey, or wherever you are. All of those associations, you're going to pay dues for that. Your broker will have some kind of fee, and those are all independent. In terms of social media, yes, huge. We do a lot of social media. I do a lot. We have a team Facebook page. I post things. We use Instagram. We do some paid advertising on social media as well, but you don't have to. You can do live Facebook. I do a lot of live Facebook videos. I do, you know, and just get everybody you know to share them. And that's what happens is it becomes, it's amazing, like the people that see your stuff. And for a while I was doing a lot of videos, and I would meet people and they would say, oh, your videos are great, I love them. And God, I have no idea how many degrees of separation there were from me to that person to have seen it. So social media is, I think you could spend almost no money these days and get out there pretty heavily.
That's actually really funny you say that, because my next question was going to be about, like, they say that real estate's like a very who you know business. Yep. So it's kind of like, can you like explain that a little bit?
So I don't know. I don't think it's so much who you know. It's putting yourself out there and networking and making sure people know who you are and what you do.
Okay.
And educating yourself and bringing something of value. And that's you can't go out and just try to sell. You have to you have to bring value to the table. There's a lot of us that do this. And so it's really sort of finding a niche, and that's where I started with the downsizing division, and I'm a senior real estate specialist. So that was something that was really important to me to develop. But it's truly about picking up the phone, putting out stuff so people know what you do and who you are, and you're at top of mind. Networking's huge. It's a big thing.
So networking is very like a big thing. So then, what about when it comes to like competition? How they then like compete against like the competition that's out there already?
Yes, so it is very competitive. So what I would say is, in the beginning, what you want to do is, if you're going to be an independent agent, introduce yourself, find the top agents, find the people who are selling a lot, find the people who are selling maybe at price points that you want to sell at. Ask to sit their open houses, meet people. That's how you're going to pick up buyers. So listings are the best way to really like grow your business, but everything starts to snowball. So connect with top agents and try to align yourself with them. And again, a lot of them have multiple listings at the same time, so they can't be in a million places at once. You can offer to be somebody's showing assistant. So I pay $35 an hour for somebody to show homes for me when I'm not able to. Okay. So you can learn a lot that way, and you can align yourself. Obviously, you're not stealing those people's clients, but you're learning from that. And you can make some extra money doing it at the same time while you're learning. So you want to reach out and develop resources. If go out and meet the real estate attorneys, go out and meet the insurance people, the inspectors, the electricians, plumbers, anybody who has anything to do with fixing a house. Start to network with those people and align yourself and create sort of a biosphere for yourself that you can offer all of these resources to people.
What about like finding a mentor or anything like that? Like, is that like kind of helpful?
Like I mentioned earlier, I had a friend who was doing real estate, and my first year really was my mentor. And it helped me with such a solid foundation. And I like to pay it forward, and I help as many people as I can. And when I joined Sue's team, I became the sales manager and trained I worked very hard training new buyers and teaching them as much as I could, and still am a resource to agents on my team and happy to help people even not on my team. So having a mentor, yes, is I think a great way to get started.
Okay, definitely. So
and then pay it forward.
What about trade school? Is like I'm in college, so like for me to get my real estate license, I kind of have to take time out of college, or I have to do it during the summer. However, like there are people that I know that go to trade school, so instead of actually going to college, they then like are just specifically going to get a license.
I think it's, I don't think there's enough people in trade school right now, so I think that's great. You can get so when I got my license, I was working full time, and I went there. You had a class that was Saturdays only. So it took me a little longer to get the class, to get the license, but I did it Saturdays only. There are some evenings, only. So the classes are structured that pretty much anybody can fit it in, I think.
Okay, so it's not really about how much time you have. It's really about like if you actually want to do it.
You got to be committed. Absolutely, like anything in life. Yep.
Yeah.
You got to
So,
want
like,
it.
Alright everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash the like button and please comment down below anything that you learned. But most of all, subscribe to my channel so that you can join the Real JD family and turn on those post notifications so that you don't miss part 2, where Laurie and I talk about how you can get into real estate, some common misconceptions, and Laurie gives us her favorite books to read for anyone who wants to get into real estate or entrepreneurship, or even just improving life. But I'm the Real JD and I'm out of here.